Everybody in YouTube world. And I'm streaming on my YouTube channel, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. So be sure to follow me on YouTube. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia on Instagram. That's so important. Be sure to follow me. Okay. All right. I am muted. No thanks. I don't want to miss the highlight. Okay. There we go. So here I am in YouTube world. Um, Let me see. Copy. Okay, great. So, hello, YouTube world. For everyone in YouTube joining us, you have to text the word LOVE to 87948 to join the book club. And actually, if you text that word, you will get a text message notification when I go live, and you will receive. You will get into the Zoom. So I am streaming on YouTube, so hello, but I'm also here paying attention to Zoom on our Zoom webinar, and then you get to ask your questions. I had a lot of questions last week. I hope I get some good questions this week because last week of our book club, how to Be an Adult in Relationships is the Five Keys to Mindful Loving by David Rico. And we are on chapter 7. And look, we're like almost done with this book. I've been thinking about what am I going to do for my next book. I have been thinking, y'all have to put, you sent me a suggestion, Rhonda. Okay, I need more people. We got to vote. There's two books I really want. I have to, I would look out for it. Okay, I have it here. The two books I've been thinking about examining for next time. I could do a book on the subconscious mind. I thought about doing that. Or I can do a book called, oh, where is it? Um, hmm, I should have had it handy because I knew I was going to talk about it today. It is one of my favorite, it's a life-changing book by me. It's not about couples. It's not about relationships. It's more like your relationship with yourself. And oh shoot, let me see. Let me see. What is the name of the I have so many books on here that I cannot find it. Uh Communication. No, I don't want to do a book about communication. Send me your, okay, Rhonda, I'm gonna look for your the latter. Yeah, I may. There's a book called Hold Me Tight, which I think is beautiful. It's all about attachment and relationships, but I think we had enough of this already of attachment. Where is the book? It's on here somewhere. There's so many books I have on here. It's a book about your own development. Oh, The Untethered Soul. That's the book. Oh, The Power of Positive Thinking. That's a good one too, Eric. Thank you. Okay, I got to get a whole list and then we'll have to vote on it. The Untethered Soul. Have y'all read that book? I've read it and listened to the audiobook, and there's something in me that like wants to rediscover that book again and just dig into it, have more of a conversation about that. So, The Untethered Soul was a really an untethered soul. Think about what that means. Think about that. Untethered soul. You're untethered to something. Oh, that is problematic. So anyway, Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. That is a book I wanted to do. A book about the subconscious mind I had thought about doing. I also thought about doing a book by Brother Panic's book. Y'all don't know Panic. I love Panic. He has passed on. Subconscious mind. Okay, so Mia is thinking about the subconscious mind. That book, I don't know. I don't know. I'll put together a list and I'm gonna have you guys vote on it. But we're still on to how to be an adult in relationships. Oh, I also wanted to say this is something that I was talking to my husband about, Dr. Boyce. I just texted him not a second ago. He just texted me back. Yeah, he texted me back. So anyway, I just contacted him a second ago, and it's something I love the book club. It's really for me. I really enjoy it. I like digging into these concepts and trying to bring it to life and apply it to you guys. I really enjoy. I'm learning too with you guys because I think what I like about this book, it talks about they don't, this says the five keys to mindful loving, but really to be an adult in relationships mean you have to be mindful in the way you relate to other people. And to me, I think it is so simple to do, but it's not easy to do. And I think this book really kind of teases a lot of this stuff out and makes us really look at ourselves and look at how we interact with other people. It's a growth book. This is really wonderful. Oh, Arturo. Welcome, Arturo. Do you have a conversation about the stages of losing loved ones? Yeah, that was a good one. Grief. Grief would be wonderful. By the way, I just signed another contract last week with a hospice company. So I'm doing a lot of hospice work recently. And so I'm digging into loss. And the things about loss is it's not just death in terms of you transitioning to another body, transitioning out of your body into another place. That's what I think death is. But it's also the death of relationships, it's the death of yourself as you grow. Everything. So I think something on loss, Arturo, may be actually beneficial. So many times I think we hold on to things, and although we want to grow, we don't want to do the letting go part. So the whole things, everything about letting go is something that I think we need to know more about. So that is a good one. I would have to think about that, Arturio. All the deaths that we have. Because in order to grow, you have to, something has to die in you. So that's how I look at death. And wow. And if you experience actual death, a loved one, someone close to you transitioning, that person is transitioning to another, just making their transition to the other side, for lack of better words. But you, because it's someone close to you, there's a part of you that transitions with them. So you're not the same. And that's what grieving does. That's what losing someone who's close to you. It changes who you are. You can never be the same, and that's not fair because you didn't ask for it. You're like, I like the way things were. I don't want anything to change. I want things to stay the same. And so it's almost like it's happening whether you like it or not. It's like I remember delivering, I have three children. I remember having giving birth to all three of those children. And I remember just like, I don't want to do this today. This really hurts. It was very painful. It was a transition because you're transitioning into motherhood and then transitioning into motherhood of two children and then motherhood of three children. I mean, all of those transitions is a death of you. Like when you get married, you're transitioning into a married woman. It's just all those transitions, I think. Now that I think through it, think about it, Arturo. That makes sense. But anyway, let's get to our book today. Today, okay, last week we talked about arrogance. People who are arrogant. I love last week. People with an inflated, what was it called? An arrogant ego? It was an inflated ego. Wait, it was some, what word did they use? I don't know. I just feel like arrogance was the word. What was it? Okay, the anatomy of the arrogant ego. Arrogant ego. Whew, inflated ego. You think you so much better, right? Today, we are going to talk about the anatomy of the impoverished ego, lower than. And I really enjoy this because David Rico is talking about a concept that another therapist also talks about in his work. Y'all know about got to get this book. That might be another book we may want to get. His name is Terrence Real, or they call him Terry Real, and he wrote a book about men and depression. He was one of the very first therapists. He's a social worker like myself. David Rico is a social worker. Social workers, yes. Anyway, he David Rico is talking about the anatomy of the impoverished ego, but Terry Real mentions you're less than. It's like a lower than. He calls it oh geez. I think inflated ego, he thinks you're better than anybody, superior. But if you're underneath the ego, if you think you're lower than, he talks about depression and he talks about not feeling that you're worthy. And so they both talk about it similarly. David Rico is works with individuals. So he's talking about it in terms of how to be an adult in relationships, where Terry Real is a couples therapist. Yes, I don't want to talk about it. Thank you, Stephen. I don't want to talk about it. Overcoming the secret legacy of male depression. That might be the next book. That book is heavy, and maybe we can reach out to Terry Real. I'd love to have him on here to talk about it. Oh, one more thing before I start. Oh gosh, it's almost the top of the hour. I don't want to waste no more time because I do want to talk about impoverished ego. But guess what? My website is up. So anybody who wants to purchase, all y'all out there who are part of the Healing Haven Book Club, if you want to have access to the recordings, I have that available for you. It's $49 a month. I already have, oh my gosh, chapter one, chapter two, chapter three, chapter four, chapter five, chapter six, and half of chapter seven up and continuing. So I have all of that up on the website. Let me put the link in here in case anyone is interested in taking a look at that. It's $49 a month for as long as you need it to be. That's the link there in the chat for Teachable. Let me do the other link. I have another link. I'm telling you, I have such a wonderful team. Y'all have to thank Boyce. I don't know what I would do without Boyce helping me with my marketing, because God knows I'm a great therapist, but when it comes to marketing, Lord, just let somebody else do the marketing. But yeah, so he's helped me out. I asked him to help me out with that. Where is the link? Okay, let me look up the link. Oh, here it is. I got it. Okay, so I'll put the other link in here so you can go to this link, be part of my inner circle. Let me go back to Zoom, and then maybe I will post it into, there it is, draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. And then you can have access to all of the recordings plus chapter one through seven. And you have access to some bonus material where I taught this class. Okay, so I had a faculty member go on sabbatical, and I stupidly, well, it wasn't stupid, but I was just feeling like I needed to help out the department. I taught this class about human behavior in the social environment. It's a required course. All y'all social workers out there know it's a required course. And so I taught that class, but I did all of these lectures on I did a lot of lectures on human development, attachment theory, which is everything that's the foundation of this book. So I have that up there. I did 3 or 4 lectures, 2 hour, 2 3 hour lectures. So you got hours and hours and hours of content on there about just everything that I know about human behavior, why people do what they do, having an understanding. I think I don't see enough of that, about having an understanding about human behavior instead of judging other people. Like, people are just doing the best that they can. That's one thing that I've learned in my 22 years of being a licensed therapist. I have learned that everybody is doing the best that they can. They are holding it together. There is a story going on in everybody. When you look at someone's behavior and you think to yourself, what the hell is going on with them? I think this class will help explain it to you. So the draliciabookclub.com/inner circle will give you access to all of that information about human behavior, about attachment theory. Attachment theory, y'all, that says everything that's going on with you right now has a direct link to what went on with you when you were younger. Your past does not dictate your current reality or your future, but it will help explain it. So once you understand how your past is connected to your current situation, guess what? You can choose to do something different. When you know better, you tend to do better. That's human behavior. People who know better will do better. And people who haven't done better, they just don't know better. So, so y'all need to know better, and you have access to it. $49 a month. You can join my inner circle. You also have access to 2 courses. Which course? Of course, I taught about love and money with Dr. Boyce, my husband. We did a whole funny thing. It was years ago. I had to look at those videos that we did years ago about love and money. And it was kind of cool because he was really, I think when we did that course together, he was actually teaching me. He was teaching me. He was teaching me what to do. He was showing me the word ropes. I look back on it and I think he put a lot of pressure on me. It was hard. It's hard. Y'all don't know. Dr. Boyce is he's a perfectionist and he's very good at what he does. He is a professional speaker and I'm a professional listener. So I had to shift gears and start to become more professional in my delivery. And he did a wonderful job training me and helping me in that way. Now, now I helped him in a lot of ways too. So it goes both ways, y'all. Goes both ways. So anyway, there's access to that course, and then you also have access to the Black Love Weekend. There's a Black Love Weekend. I'll give you access to that for $49 a month. So there you go. This, I know a bunch of people have been contacting me, asking me how they can get recordings, and that's how you get all of the recordings. Okay, you won't be able to get them all on YouTube because they're all not available on YouTube. And so you have them all housed there. So go to those websites. It's in the chat. I think it's to everybody. It's in the chat and then you'll have access to it. But anyway, you can always join me every week on Zoom free of charge. But if you want the recordings, this is a class, y'all. We are in class. We are teaching in class. And so you'll have recordings. You can always come to class, and any and everybody is welcome. All right. Okay. We got another book. Book suggestion: The Source, Secrets of the Universe, The Science of the Brain by Tara Stewart. Rhonda, yes, I loved it. Okay, I'm getting a copy of this chat when we're done, and I'm going to put it up and have everybody really vote because there's just so much. There's so much. There's just too much. But this is stuff that I love and I'm interested in. I kind of like that. I like the brain, the science of the brain. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so let's move on. We're going to talk about the anatomy of the impoverished ego. Ah, the impoverished ego. So y'all know where we're getting to. Okay, we're going to start here. It's on page 202. We are on page 202. So let's get started with this. Okay, so the anatomy of the impoverished ego. In contrast to the inflated ego, no, in contrast to the inflated, arrogant style is the second style of dysfunctional neurotic ego. The deflated, impoverished style is a fear-based, submissive, or victim style that prevents non-hierarchical intimacy. The following attitudes characterize the impoverished ego. So they're talking about the attitudes of those with the impoverished ego. But I think what's interesting is that although the inflated ego is arrogant, the second style, the second style of dysfunctional neurotic ego. Okay, the deflated, impoverished ego style is fear-based. So you're scared. Scared to speak up, right? Submissive. I'm going to talk about submissive. I'm going to go back to that because that word submissive, what's that make y'all think of? Submissive makes you think of how a wife has to be submissive to her husband. So is that really an impoverished ego? Is really the submissive wife's orientation is to be supportive to a arrogant ego. So an arrogant ego compared to a impoverished ego, do those people tend to get together? I think so. But anyway, let me move on because I want to explain myself. Okay, the following attitudes characterize the impoverished ego. Victim. I am not, I I do not control my life. That's the victim. I am a victim of people and circumstances. Everything that happens to me is someone else's doing or fault. I am powerless to change anything. Behind this attitude lies the fear of being held accountable. Oh, that's interesting. As an adult, the fear of being held accountable as an adult. That's saying, I'm not going to make the decision. I'm going to let someone else make the decision so that that person can be accountable. So if it goes bad, that person is to blame and I can no longer be a blame. So you can't take accountability if you're the victim because you're putting your control in the hands of someone else. That's what that means to me. Self pity and belief in someone as a victim. Self pity and belief in oneself as a victim can also be forms of despair, falling prey to the illusion that there is no alternative to one's painful predicament. I'm helpless in this predicament. What am I to do? I'm totally helpless. So I can't be accountable. That is an illusion. So he's saying this is an illusion, falling prey to the illusion that there's no alternative to one's painful predicament. So you do have a choice, but you're saying I have no choice. There's nothing I'm supposed to be doing. That's the victimhood. Okay, so you're a victim. That's the impoverished ego. So number two, the follower. Everyone knows what to do but me. I have to follow others. Tell me what to do and believe, and I will do it and believe it. Behind the attitude lies the fear of taking charge of one's life or of making a mistake. So you're putting everything in the hands of someone else because you're too scared to take charge. Oh my God, you're worried. Oh my God, what if this doesn't work out? I'm just let somebody else decide and then I don't have to worry about it because I don't want to mess it up. That's an illusion too, because you know exactly what you want to do. And I'm sorry, I got to talk about marriages because there's women who say, or men who demand of this, of their wives, to say, I make all of the decisions. You know, my wife has to follow me and I make the decision. If I decide to move somewhere, if I decide to pick up and go somewhere, if I decide to buy a house, if I decide to buy a car, I'm the one taking charge of that. And my wife has no say so in that. I've seen this, seen some husbands say that. A follower, self blamer. I am always wrong or bad. I blame myself for everything bad that happens. I am ashamed of myself and guilt ridden. Behind this attitude lies the fear of responsibility. So he's talking about this again about not even just in romantic relationships, but if you have the impoverished ego, you're looking for everything else to tell you what to do. That is an illusion. So your fear, you're nervous about responsibility. I think this is interesting because I do talk about this in the course that I taught, Boyce and I taught about love and money. And we talked about people who were very anxious, anxious about money. They would put all of the decisions onto the other partner. And it's not necessarily a husband or wife that does this. Sometimes husbands do this. They just don't make decisions. They just make the money and they expect their wife to kind of take care of everything and put that on her plate. I've seen those scenarios. So it's not just necessarily like the man makes all the decisions. Sometimes men will just put it off on one another person to make all the financial decisions because they're very anxious about it. They don't trust themselves. And so they let their partner make all of the decisions. So I've seen it go the other way as well. And so it definitely happens with love and money. And I think in a healthy adult relationships, husband and wife, both of you all need to know what's happening with your money. So we have a class on that. It comes with the monthly book club. You get access to that class that I taught with boys. We taught it together. We taught it together. It was a lot of fun. Okay. Moving on. Unworthy. I deserve nothing, no abundance, No, not love, not abundance. I deserve nothing. Not abundance, not love, not respect. Behind this attitude lies the fear of receiving. So you are afraid of receiving. I think he's talking about the five A's. So you are afraid of receiving attention, allowance, affection. You don't want to receive it. Um, Gosh, all of that. Acceptance, but you're willing to give it. You're willing to give it freely, but you have a difficult time having someone do those things to you, and because you feel like you're unworthy. Quite interesting. My husband was talking to me. Y'all know this rapper called Kevin Gates. His name is Kevin Gates. I never heard of a rapper called Kevin Gates. Do y'all know? Let me know in the chat if y'all know of a rapper named Kevin Gates. Steven knows him. I didn't know who he was. I never heard of his name. My kids knew who they were. I have teenagers in the house. I'm like, do you know Kevin Gates? And they were like, yeah, I know Kevin Gates. Anyway, I was listening to an interview by Kevin Gates, and he talked about this. He said he was afraid of being in a relationship with someone. He felt that he was unworthy. So guess what he would do? Guess what y'all men do sometimes when you're in a relationship and you you're in a relationship and you're with a really good partner. Sometimes you get scared. Hi Mia, we're on page 202. Sometimes you get scared, and Kevin Gates mentioned that he would sabotage the relationship because he was afraid. He said that he said he didn't understand why men walk around saying there's no good women out there. He said there's a ton of good Black women out there. He said ruined those relationships because I felt like I was unworthy. I was like, wow, I don't see too many men admitting that or really just being self-aware to know that that's what's going on. I like Kevin Gates. I don't know. I can't wait to do. Maybe Dr. Boyce and I will talk about his recent divorce. We will have a conversation about it, but I thought it was really, really interesting and very unique to hear him admit that. I don't see too many men admit that. So Kevin Gates is on my good, he's on my good side. How and why he got married the way he did, I think I kind of understand listening to that interview, but I thought that was really something. He felt unworthy. So feelings unworthy is an impoverished ego. Now, don't get me wrong, Kevin Gates was arrogant. He's arrogant because, rappers tend to come off that way. Anyway, moving along. We're on page 202 of How to Be an Adult in Relationships, the paper copy. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Self-sabotage, exactly what they do. Okay, unimportant. No one cares about me. I do not matter. I make no difference. I make no difference. Mm. Behind this attitude lies the fear of being loved, the fear of the five A's, which can be seen as lying behind every self diminishment. So every time you think of yourself as unworthy, every time you think of yourself as the victim, every time you think of yourself as unimportant, as a follower, as a victim to things, you have self diminished, and leads to an impoverished ego. That's quite interesting. So you're comfortable giving the five A's, but you have a very difficult time receiving affection, asking for what you want, allowing what you want to come through you, acceptance, attention. What's the other one? Appreciation. All of those five A's of mindful loving. You have a very difficult time receiving that. So if you ever wonder, how is it that your partner is not telling you what they want and how they want things in the relationship and, communicating their needs and want to you, I think that you can think about maybe they feel unworthy, maybe they feel unimportant. And so that's just something to keep in mind. So instead of blaming them and pointing the finger at them, you can start to realize, okay, maybe there's some issues with not feeling good enough, and that's just something to think about. Understanding. Okay, so how y'all doing? How's everybody doing? Let me see how much longer. Oh, we got a page two left in this section. I just want to let me type it again in the chat. If anyone's interested in getting recordings, there is the link in the chat for everybody. It is $49 a month. With the $49, you would have access to chapters 1 through 7 because we only made it through 7. So I'll upload all of the videos. If you happen to miss, I'll upload all the videos for you. Also, you'll have access to my human behavior in the social environment content where I speak about conception all the way to death and dying. I do have a section about death and dying, so I'll talk about that. It's 4 videos, several hours long, where I'm actually teaching a master's course in social work in my social work department. I've recorded them and I have them available to you. So it's almost like you're a master's student. Anyway, so you have access to those recordings, and then you also get 2 free classes. One is a class that Dr. Boyce and I taught together about love and money. I had fun. I had fun with that, teaching that class with my husband. And then the other one is the Black Love Weekend. So yes, Rhonda. So today we're talking about David Rico. We're talking about the impoverished ego, and Rhonda put in the chat for everyone David Rico's 5 A's: allowing, appreciation, attention, affection, and and allowing, okay, allowing, appreciation, attention, affection. What is the other one? Allowing, appreciation, attention, affection, and acceptance. That's it. Accepting someone. So that's the other one, Rhonda. So acceptance. So those are the 5 A's to mindful loving, and you have a hard time receiving that from a partner if you're impoverished ego. Something to keep in mind. Okay. Fortunately, each of these elements of the impoverished ego contains an alchemical kernel of value. Huh. Alchemical kernel of value, as shown in the right column below. Okay, so they have a column. So there's an alchemical value. So there's a value to some of this, the 5 A's. I think that's really interesting. Okay, let me see. Alchemical value. Hold on. Okay. So it's the alchemical value. So they talk about it here on page 203. Oh, wait, someone wrote something in the chat. Acceptance, yes, Rhonda. Okay, if you have questions, oh, I see there's a question. Let me go through the alchemical value. Put your questions in the Q&A. I will answer them. And but let me read what they are. So, victim. So, okay, so what he's saying is that each of these elements of the impoverished ego contain an alchemical kernel of value. Okay, so he's saying if you're a victim, you need to be alchemical means you need to transition into something. You need to move into something. So alchemical is like the ingredients to make things grow, make things move. So for victims, it's the ability to find resources and evoke compassionate love. So with victims, if you're embracing this victimhood, it's the capacity to find resources and evoke compassionate love. So while the victim archetype, it's an archetype, may appear to signify helplessness, it also carries the alchemical element, the potential to awaken profound empathy and resourcefulness in oneself and others. So if you've ever actually been a victim, people who've been a victim, they're very sensitive to other people who go through something really terrible. So, hey, Sarah, how you doing? They are, so they can be sensitive. And people who go through that, they can better understand what other people are going through. So sometimes if you take on this victimhood, if you recognize yourself in that, what it does, it awakens. It can move into your ability to show empathy and to be resourceful, to know in the importance of gifts that you have, and you can recognize it in yourself and start to recognize it in others. So sometimes, in social work, a lot of people decide to become therapists, and we laugh about it because we say, okay, all of us, we're all wounded healers. On some level, people who decide to become therapists, who want to become social workers, they were the victim of something. And so they have a great level of empathy for people's problems because they have had it themselves. Okay. So moving on, follower. A follower, the alchemical element, the transitional element, is that you're really good at cooperating and recognizing one's own limitations. So the follower can transition to be you're good at cooperation. So to be in a healthy relationship with another person, you need to be able to work together on things. There's so many couples, they just work independently. They work parallel. They're not good at collaborating and working with each other and understanding, okay, this is what I'm good at, but here are some limitations. And so I need to supplement my limitations in some way. So I think the follower, if you transition out of that, you can be sensitive to understanding yourself and limitations. So it highlights, you understand the value of collaborating with other people. You understand your personal boundaries can exist. I think people who have an impoverished ego, if they're able to look at it and examine some of this, instead of being a follower where you make no decisions at all, you're also the kind of person who understands the importance of teamwork and interdependence. So being a follower can transition into someone who is able to understand that we got to work together as a team. We need to collaborate, all of that wonderfulness. Self-blamer. So the self-blamer, the alchemical element of blaming yourself for everything, is the ability to assess one's own deficiencies. So self-blame can be paralyzing. I can't do anything. I'm not good enough. So self-blame can be paralyzing, but it can also signal your readiness to take responsibility and to strive for your own self improvement. Sometimes it takes a little bit of that reflection to acknowledge the fact that you can grow in so many different ways. How about that? The alchemical piece to self blaming is the ability to be able to self reflect and know that you need to grow instead of it paralyzing you. This is heavy stuff. Okay, unworthy. Feeling unworthy. Okay, so we know what feeling unworthy can do. Um, Ability to relate with humility. Oh, yes, you need to have some humility to have a healthy ego. So I think it's important to be modest. Sometimes you need to be modest about your achievement. Doesn't mean that you feel like you're not worthy of your achievement, but you're not attached to that thinking that you're better than somebody. So this modesty can open the pathway for real genuine connection in your relationships. It's hard to connect with somebody who's arrogant, but it's easy to connect with someone who's modest in their accomplishments. You can connect with them. Those individuals are very grounded perspective, and you can think about this is my place in the world and have a very grounded perspective. What did Eric say? I'm good at leading my own life but tend to follow in social situations. Okay, so for you, Eric, people probably love being around you because you're great. You may be a good team member, but you also need to learn how to assert yourself as well. But anyway, thank you for sharing, Eric. Okay. Unimportant. Unimportant is the ability to discriminate and grant precedence appropriately. Discriminate and grant precedence appropriately. I think that means to discriminate. It's like you can transcend an inflated sense of self. So I think that quality nurtures your ability to discern, your ability to understand, to be able to see what's really there. So it's saying that I don't have to be the center of attention all the time. It's not that I'm not important, but I can allow myself to be a priority, but effectively. And I can honor what truly matters. Sometimes other things really, truly matter. This is really fascinating. It's almost like a double-edged sword to have these sort of things. So let me see. The question. Eric is the one who was given homework. No, his name was Otis, Rhonda. Yes, we're still looking for Otis. Somebody need to find Otis. Hopefully Otis is watching. I hope we didn't scare him off because if it didn't work, we'd give him more advice. Okay. So, okay, Q&A. Let's see what the Q&A. Okay, so there's a question. Oh, not a question, but a comment. Thank you for this. Currently in therapy, doubling down on this is helping out tremendously. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Therapy is great. I'm happy that you are in therapy. So you could leave I guess you can leave a comment or a question in the Q&A. So wait, what am I supposed to do after I read it? Just type an answer. I'll just say wonderful. I'll say wonderful and send it. Okay. So if anybody else has some questions, I'll look down and look out for a question that you have. Oh, wait, where did I move it? I moved it over here. Okay. So I don't want to move it anymore. Okay. So we'll read on. So we are on page 203 of the book club. We are on chapter 7. And for some of you all who are just coming in here, this is How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The Five Keys to Mindful Loving by David Rico. And we are on chapter 7. If you want the recordings, chapters 1 through 7.5, because we're halfway through chapter 7, let me put the link in the chat. Here's the link that you go to. Yes, that's the page you go to everybody. This gives you access to all of the recordings. And for $49 a month, you have access to, gosh, there's dozens and dozens of recordings for each week that we're in the book club. If you want to have those recordings, a lot of people have been reaching out to my team and Boyce's team to see how to get the recordings, and the link is live. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. And then, of course, my YouTube channel. I'm streaming to my YouTube channel, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Be sure to subscribe to that. Hit the like button and share with people. And also text the word love, LOVE, to 87948 for people on YouTube so that you can be able to come in here. I can shout you out. I can answer your questions and we can keep the party going. And you have you'll get text messages on when I go live. Who knows? I may go live at any moment. Who knows when I go live? When I go live and talk about things that are on my mind that I feel like you can benefit from. But it helps me. Like this book club is for you guys, the Healing Haven Book Club, but it's really for me because I love reading books. I've read so many books. It's so fun. I love, and I never, like I always, it's so fast. Okay, really quickly. How the book club came about was when I got back from my sabbatical. I went on a sabbatical. I was a Fulbright scholar in the country of Guyana. And I came home and I was like so sad coming back to United States from living in South America. And I was telling my husband, I was like, boys, I am so sad. He's like, why? I'm like, I miss my social work friends. Like I had a really great community of Black women who were smart and intelligent, and I just felt so at home. And it's just different working at a university that's predominantly African or Black than working at a university that's predominantly white. Just such a stark difference in so many different ways. And I just didn't feel, I felt very disconnected from my home institution. So anyway, I was sad. And so he was like, why don't you start a book club? And I was like, I don't know. And then and then he came back to me. He was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna start a book club. So that's when he started his book club listening to me be sad about the fact that I missed everybody in Guyana. He said, I'm gonna start a book club. So he started it first, and then now I'm starting it. So that's how it came about. It was actually the brain, it was out of the brilliant brain of Dr. Boyce helping me out because I was feeling sad. So I don't feel sad anymore. I feel real happy. We are on page 203, and we are talking about the impoverished ego, and I'm delighted to read on. Okay, so he's saying, To transform the impoverished ego requires the building of self esteem, assertiveness, and cooperative skills. The challenge is always how to stand assertively and still stay connected. Yes, it is so important to be assertive. Now, you don't want to be aggressive, and you definitely don't want to be passive. You want to be assertive. So, aggressive says, I don't care about you. You're going to do what I say, and I don't care what you want. Okay. So, for instance, if somebody asks you to borrow your car, say, hey, my car broke down and I need to get to work tomorrow morning. Would it be okay if I borrowed your car? Now, aggressive response would be, I don't care. So what? You're not using my car. I don't care what happens. That would be aggressive. A passive response would be, okay, you can borrow my car for as long as you want. That's a passive response. But assertiveness says, hey, I also need my own car. So, what I can do instead of having you borrow your car, because I know borrow my car because I understand that your car broke down and you don't have a replacement for it, and I feel sorry for that. What I can do is I can drop you off, but I'm not going to be able to let you just take my car because I need it. And so that's terrible that that's happened to you. But what I can do is I can drop you off at work for tomorrow, but I can't do it long term because I have my own life. So that is being assertive. You know, it's not dismissing somebody, but it's also not putting the needs of other people ahead of your own, but it's asserting yourself and being able to think about what you can do, what you can't do. And even if you say no, you still need to connect because what he's saying is that you have to understand how to stand assertively and still stay connected. So connection means that's terrible. That's terrible your car is in the shop. I think it's awful that, this happened to you and you need me for this reason. Here's how I can help. So you can stay connected with the person when you are assertive. So all assertiveness is all about connection. I'm glad he brought this up. It is the psychological work of becoming an adult and a necessary precursor to intimacy. You cannot have true intimacy with somebody unless you understand how to be assertive. So, having an impoverished ego builds disconnection because you're not being your authentic self. You're always putting the needs of other people ahead of you. The arrogant ego and the impoverished ego are actually two sides to one coin. Indeed, the neurotic ego has been called the king baby. You're a baby. People who are arrogant, people who think they're better than everybody, people who feel like they always have to be in charge, those arrogant people, they are the king baby. Y'all see, what was that? The Game of Thrones. Remember King Joffrey? He's a king, baby. He didn't care about nobody else, but what was going on with him. He kind of reminds me of other people in political office, which I won't name, but they kind of reminds me of those people. The king baby. So all these arrogant people who feel like my wife has to do what I say, and all these people who say that you ain't nothing but a king baby. Think about an infant who doesn't get what they want. They start crying and demanding that they get it. But it's okay for an infant to do it. It ain't okay for a grown ass adult to do it. You're not entitled. Like a king, the arrogant ego believes it has a divine right, entitlement to be in full control. My wife has to do what I say. She has to submit to me, to be loved and respected by everyone. This is more than just marriage. This is how you approach life. Everybody around me has to do what I say. We know a lot of those people. Thank you, Rhonda. The world revolves around them. Arrogant. Who do you think you are? They have to be loved and respected by everyone. There is no intimacy in that approach. And to have first or center place in everything, you got to be the center of attention. Like a baby, the impoverished ego looks helpless. Hmm. And yet it has the power to mobilize people around its needs. Absolutely. Oh my God, which reminds me, we probably should, um, oh Lord, somebody's texting me. Okay, by his need, we probably should do our next book club on mind control because one of the best mind control occurred in my family, and I won't mention names, but there was somebody in my family who had children. And every time the diaper of the baby needed to be changed, she was the mom. She would just be like, I don't know how to change this diaper. Oh my God. She didn't want to change the diaper. So she would walk around pretending that she did not know how to change the diaper. Pretending. It's like weaponized incompetence because she didn't feel like changing that diaper. She was smart enough and adult enough to change a baby's diaper. She's like in her 40s with this baby, but she didn't do it. Why? Because she wanted someone to come in and do it for her. So she was playing the helpless, clueless person just because that was her way of getting out of things. And believe it or not, that is a very effective mind control technique. A lot of women do that. Sometimes, have you seen those videos where women have a hard time like carrying stuff in from the car and they just play like they're helpless so they can get their husband to come out and do it for them. But meanwhile, they're on video and they can actually move it themselves. They're just as strong. Not to say that that's always has to be, but there's so many ways in which women in particular pretend to be helpless just so that they can get out of things. So that is an interesting mind control technique because if you are helpless and you pretend to be helpless and you're the center of attention, you're the center of attention because you need everybody to come around you and help you change this baby's diaper. I've seen it happen. It's really quite interesting. And underneath it all, you're just getting out of doing it. Interesting mind control technique. It's called the dumb blonde mind control. I mean, if you believe it, Marilyn Monroe would pretend to be the dumb blonde. She was very smart, by the way, very savvy, but she would pretend to be the dumb blonde. That was just stuff she would do so that men would do stuff for her that she didn't have to do for herself. But anyway, I don't want to digress too far into that. But yeah, that's interesting. Like a baby, the impoverished ego, um, wait, like a baby, the impoverished ego looks helpless. Looks helpless. They ain't helpless. They look helpless. Um, and yet it has the power to mobilize people around its needs. That sounds like the dumb blonde lie. Because just having blonde hair, that doesn't make you unintelligent, like you can't do anything. Okay. After all, a baby is the center of attention. A baby is always the center of attention. A baby controls others' behaviors. And a baby should. An actual infant needs to be the center of attention to their caregiver. Yes, that is so true. Okay, a baby is entitled to special treatment. Moral and psychological adulthood means deposing the royal ego and letting the infantile ego grow up. Yes. Self-inflation and self-deflation are the neurotic edges of ego. Remember last week he talked about, or was it 2 weeks ago, we talked about how your ego needs to be centered in love. not fear. It needs to be centered with love and fear so that it can be balanced. Okay. Self-inflation and self-deflation are the neurotic edges of ego. The healthy ego, like virtue, is the center between them. So I think what he's saying is that you can't get rid of your ego. It needs to be balanced. You need to not have an overinflated, underinflated ego. You have to be centered, and your center needs to be centered in love. That's what he's saying. The inflated ego, with its status and success at control, is less likely than the healthy ego to elicit the five A's from others. The deflated ego is too wounded and insecure to ask for them. You don't even ask for them. Both find it hard to show or receive them. It's not true connection. If you're coming from a place of impoverished ego, feeling that you are lacking in some way, deflated, you can't have intimacy. And if you're arrogant, you damn for sure can't have intimacy because you don't even care about another person and you're not really being your authentic self. You're acting like a what? A king baby. King Baby. And I even think that TV show, Game of Thrones, I think they refer to Godfrey as a baby. I think they refer to him as a king baby. I think he had a nickname like that. So maybe, maybe the writers know about this. Clearly they do. So the inflated ego with its status and success, it at control is less likely than the healthy ego to elicit the five A's from others. The deflated ego is too wounded and insecure to ask for them. Both find it hard to show them or receive them, since giving and receiving, the five A's, are the basis for intimacy. That's what intimacy is. Giving and receiving affection, giving and receiving acceptance, giving and receiving allowance, giving and receiving attention. All of that happens when the ego is balanced. That's how you have intimacy. What chance does the untransformed ego have for love? No chance. Because without intimacy, how are you going to love somebody? You don't even know them. Intimacy is about knowledge. Into me, you see. Intimacy. Into me, I see. Into me, you see. So you can't have intimacy if your ego is out of balance because there's no connection there. You're either arrogant or you are too impoverished to even receive, too arrogant to give it to somebody, too impoverished to even ask for it. How can we transform an impoverished ego? What do we do? Elements of this you see in yourself. Now we're about to get into what you can do. How can we enrich it? The victim changes by acknowledging his or her own power. Acknowledge your power. Okay. Acknowledge your power. The follower changes by making independent decisions. Assert yourself. Make the decision on your own because you know what to do. The self-blamer changes by taking responsibility. That worked. I made my own decision and it turned out really nicely. I can take responsibility for that. I made my own decision and it didn't work out ideally, but there are some elements to it that I can learn from. I can take responsibility for that. Taking responsibility. An unworthy person and the unimportant person both change by learning to appreciate themselves and to accept appreciation from others and to you know, not only accept it, but to expect it. Expect appreciation from others. Hmm. Changing involves acting as if the opposite of our thoughts. Changing involves acting as if the opposite of our thoughts and posturing were true. With practice, gradually our attitudes alter to fit the new behavior. Plan ways to do this work. If you are a victim, follower, or self blamer, or if you feel unworthy or unimportant, to reverse the victim position, take responsibility for your choices and look for ways to make the best of what you did not choose but cannot change. Can't change. All you can change is yourself. Can't change other people. To step outside of the follower role, take initiative in speaking up for any circumstance or relationship that is presently disturbing you. You know what's disturbing you. You know what you don't like about that relationship. You need to speak up about it. To ease blaming yourself, acknowledge accountability for your behavior while also having an appreciation of how you acted in accord with the light you had at the time. Yeah, I mean, there's ways to make amends. If you do something that's regrettable, how beautiful is that? I mean, all you can do is learn from it. Learning from your regrets, making amends, lessons learned. Ha! I know one of my children like that. Yes. So, how's everybody doing? We are done with this section. Next week, let me see what's happening next week. Am I going to be around? Next week is Father's Day, but I will be around. Next week, we will have a Father's Day session. We're going to talk about saying yes to the things we cannot change. So I think that's great. Saying yes to the things we cannot change. Um, That's the next section. Ooh, it's a big. Oh, and then we talk about practices. We're almost done with chapter 7. This is really awesome. So we're almost done with chapter 7, saying yes to the things we cannot change. We now know what to do when we have an arrogant ego. Now we know what to do when we have an impoverished ego. And that is it for today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Text the word love, LOVE, to 87948. Let me put the link in the chat again for those of you who want to join the inner circle and have access to all of the recordings, in addition to 2 of my courses, in addition to my lecture on human behavior that talks all about attachment theory, kind of goes into it in depth. And also my interview with the author of the book is there too, David Rico. I did an interview with him, and it is available for you for $49 a month. I say take advantage of that. This is really interesting. Yeah, Arturio, ego, quite fascinating. We now know what it is. We know how it operates in our life, and we know how to balance it. So, all right, everybody, it is Sunday night. I hope y'all have a great week. Beautiful week ahead of you guys. I will see you on Father's Day. We're going to shout out to all the fathers. We are going to say goodbye to everybody on YouTube. Everybody on YouTube, text the word love, LOVE, to 87948 to have um, uh, access to when I go live. You'll get a text message. You can also you'll join the Zoom live. You can ask your questions live, and that part is free. So you can always come in and join the Healing Haven, get your questions answered. I'll shout you out and everything. It's a family now. I see all the same names. That's just so cool. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful week. I'll see y'all next week. Bye, everybody.